Hi everyone, and welcome to Training for Life Redeemed. I'm Dan. I'm sitting here with my father, David Jackson. We are working our way through the Psalms. Dad, we're up to Psalm 55. We're going to read this one together because there's a leader who says, or sings normally one part, and then the congregation do the other part. So I want to be the congregation.
Yep.
And
man of many voices.
Lead us away.
Psalm 55. For the director with stringed instruments, a maskil of David. Give ear to my prayer, God. Don't hide yourself from my plea for grace. Pay attention to me and answer me. I ramble in my thinking and I'm in an uproar. From the voice of an enemy, from the face of the pressure of the wicked, because they dislodge wickedness onto me, and with anger they hate me. My heart writhes within me, terrors of death fall on me. Fear and trembling enter me, and shuddering overwhelms me. And I said, who will give me wings? Like a pigeon I'll fly and I'll settle. Behold, I'll relocate from far away to retreat. Let me lodge in the wilderness, Salah. Let me hurry to a refuge for myself from the rushing wind, from the storm. Swallow, my Lord, divide their speech. For I see violence and dispute in the city. Day and night they go around her on her walls, and trouble and sorrow are in her midst. Destruction is in her midst. It's never absent from her plaza. There's oppression and deceit. It's not an enemy who abuses me. I could bear that. It's not someone who hates me, who gangs up on me. I could be hidden from him. You are a man of my rank and my comrade, whom I've known well. We consulted well together. We walked with the crowds in the house of God.
Desolations are upon them. They go down to Sheol alive, because disasters are in the place where they stay, in their midst.
As for me, I cry to God, and Yahweh saves me. Evening, morning, and noon I keep on thinking and raging, and he hears my voice. He ransomed my life whole from an attack on me, because there are many who are at me. God hears, and he puts them down. He sits enthroned, and as in the past, Salah.
Nothing changes with them, and they do not fear God.
He reaches his hand while enjoying his peace. He profanes his covenant. His mouth produces speech as smooth as butter, but a hostile approach is in his heart. His words are more tender than oil, but they're drawn swords.
Throw your lot to Yahweh. He will provide for you. He will never dislodge the righteous.
And you, God, cause them to go down to the deepest pit. They're men of bloods and treachery. They don't make it to the half of their days. But I trust in you.
Well done. There's a lot in this psalm. It's a long one. 23 verses, I think you said there were.
Yep.
When we go through this, so it's very clear that this guy is generally in angst and is very upset about the betrayal that's happened to him. He talks about different types of betrayals that he could have handled, but the person who's betrayed him is clearly close, someone who he loved, who David possibly loves, who's betrayed him. Get us going here with the beginning.
Okay, well, there's only a couple of psalms in this set that don't say, when David was doing X, Y, and Z. In the way that it's set up, it looks like this is a second song written following his betrayal by the people in Keilah and Ziph. So he's still wandering around in the wilderness. He's got all these evil people, but he's making this shift in this song. It's as if, that Psalm 54 was a first reaction to being betrayed, and then the weeks have gone by and he's sort of sitting around going, the last few weeks my nights are just raging and confusion, and he's reflecting all the thoughts and the thinking and the emotion that's going on in his heart. And so you get a lot of language here about, my heart writhes, the terrors of death, all of these things are going on inside him. I think that's not too difficult for us to identify with. Those nights when you just can't get to sleep and you're mulling over and the hurt, the betrayal. I think of some ladies I know whose husbands have, been abusive and run off, and I actually think back to my mother at some stages. That sense of when you are betrayed by somebody who was your equal. He says you're the same rank as me. Well, for David to say that, the only person of the same rank is Saul.
Yeah.
And he describes the good time, the time when he and Saul had some level of trust and identity. And then the betrayal of that is sharper than the betrayal of all these other people. But just that scene of raging and rolling around in the middle of the night is terrible. I think we've all been there. But it really echoes. And to put that into song, I like the way this psalm is a song leader singing to a congregation and a congregation then replying. It's called antiphonal singing. You get it at the football.
Yes, you do. Real football, that is. Where they sing.
Where they sing, yes, that's right. So you need a cantor or a song leader who stands up and gives the first line, and then everybody comes back at you. And the power of that left, right rhythm. So it's as if the congregation is talking sense to David or to the one who's been betrayed, and while he's pouring out his guts, they're coming back pointing him to trust the Lord. And that's really a cool congregational dynamic. We don't do that. I don't remember doing that in any church except when we sang, I think, Psalm 150 out of Song Praise, where you have a cantor singing one line and everybody repeating it. You get it in a lot of African American slave chain gang songs. Harry Belafonte used to sing some of that stuff. So it's that sort of rhythm that builds this power to, I'm just churning away in the middle of the night, and here's the whole congregation of God saying, "Hey, trust the Lord, he's going to take care of it." And then you tell them about how you're feeling and they come back and hit you again. It's a great song.
It's a bit of a model too, I guess, for how it's meant to work. Like today, if you're struggling and all the rest of it, you should be able to come to your congregation or people from your congregation who should then encourage you and help you to actually focus back on God. Go in prayer to God. God's the one who will rescue you. God's the one who provides for you. And whether he rescues you in this life or at this point, or whether he rescues you big time, rescues you, he's always there rescuing you. And I think some of the stuff that the congregation say is some of the best bits of the psalm. Yeah.
So that line there, you are a man of my rank, my comrade, whom I've known well. If it was some stranger, it wouldn't bother me. But you, and then the congregation comes back and says, desolations are on them. They go down to Sheol alive. They're going to get it. So when they talk about they're talking about the guy he speaks to as you. You, Saul, have done all these terrible things, and the congregation says, they're going to get it.
Yeah.
God is just.
Yeah. But the focus. I feel like the congregation is the one that's bringing it back around to God. Throughout this thing, yes, they're gonna. I'm on your side. They're gonna get punished, but also, they don't fear God is your next line, and then throw your lot to Yahweh is going to come up later in verse 22 as the thing that the congregation is saying to this person who's struggling.
Yeah,
and I think it's a good call for us, to be alongside our fellow Christians and to be there when they need it.
To turn the music of our assemblies, our congregation, into this, put the proposition out there, respond to it. So he said, you were my special friend and you betrayed me. The congregation say, they're going to cop it. And then he says, he's ransomed my life from all those who attack me. God hears, he puts them down. So he's affirming what the congregation just said. And then the congregation come back and say, nothing changes with them because they don't fear God, reminding us of the atheist.
Yeah.
And then the song leader goes, to the next step. God reaches out his hand while enjoying his peace. While this enemy enjoys God's peace, he profanes the covenant. And he goes on to talk about what his enemy has done. And then the congregation come back with, well, throw your lot with Yahweh.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about them. Just focus on God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just, that whole idea of, you're righteous, you're fine, you're safe because God's with you.
Yep.
But then ends up with, at the end there, is going to cause them to go down to the deepest pit. They're men of blood and treachery.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a very... I mean, I gave a brief summary of the psalm before we were doing this. I was like, the person's in trouble, they need God, God rescues them.
There's your summary.
It's a standard kind of structure for a lot of psalms.
Yeah.
But this is a longer one that goes in more depth,
Yeah.
and it looks more closely at the inner struggles that are happening.
Some of the imagery, I think, is classic. He talks about the enemy rolling or dislodging rocks on his head in the accusation. He's talking about the accusation. Saul has accused David of treachery, of treason, wanting to kill Saul and take the kingdom. David's not wanting to kill Saul at all. He's left that in God's hands. So he's dislodging all of this stuff down on them. And then the call goes back from the congregation that says, take your lot, which is your life, your burdens, and just leave it with God. And he will never dislodge you. So you're rock solid firm. Your enemy's trying to roll rocks on your head, and you're leaving your whole position in the hands of God.
Yeah.
When we come later to another psalm, David's hiding in a gully, in a cave, and I've walked up, you've walked up that gully too. And you just imagine walking through the gully and somebody rolling rocks down on you. There you go.
All right, Dale, that brings us to the end of this psalm, and to the end of this episode. If you would like to come and grab the study notes for this episode, you want to head over to trainingforliferedeemed.com/111, or are we up to 112? 111. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do that, and make sure you come back and join us next week.